CZ, Bren 2. This is the 8-inch, and we're going to get right into this. But before we do, let's go ahead and talk about our channel sponsor, Tag Firearms, where you can get some of the best firearms from manufacturers like Noveske, B&T, LMT, Knights Armament, and plenty more. Go ahead and check them out at their Instagram or at their website at tagfirearms.com. And let's get into this. So, the CZ Bren 2. This is the MS. They had an S model before this that got released, and there weren't too many of those. Those were basically an exact semi-auto military version. And then they did the MS, which has the M-lock. So if you see an S, know that that's the difference between those. I have had both. The advantages of this versus the S has the European thread pitch. This one has, a standard American thread pitch. So, you can use, muzzle devices from any good manufacturer on this, and the other one gets kind of wonky. We normally do a lot of high tier stuff on the channel, but this is kind of more of a mid-tier gun. But the reason I wanted to definitely touch base on this is, one, it's actually a pretty good little setup, and two, you see a lot of these popping up in Ukraine. I mean, I haven't really seen a lot lately in footage, but in the beginning part of, damn, that sounded like it came close. In the beginning part of Ukraine, you saw a lot of these popping up in dudes' hands that were in like the Foreign Legion forces and, kind of some of the soft teams. It was like this and the MCX. And I definitely wanted to make sure I did something on this. So this is actually like the second or third one I've had. Had them before. They didn't really work out for me. The aftermarket wasn't there yet. And then I walked away from it. But then, as with anything else, the aftermarket grew. And I decided to take a look at it again. So the good thing about this is the weight. The weight of this is, I think they have it at around like 5.5 pounds. The shitty thing with anything is like the second you add anything to it, it swells up. I would compare this to, the SCARs, the FN SCARs, the B&T APC 223s, maybe the G36. Out of those four, what would I say I'd go with? If cost and money were an issue, I'd say the Bren 2 is a very good option. For what you get, it's a really good setup. I like the lower on them. They're polymer. On this one, I have a Dan Haga large palm swell in the back of it. I also have press and precision rails that give you Picatinny rails on here as opposed to the M-lock. That's just a little bit of a better mounting solution for this. If I do mount something up there, I just want it to be on there rock solid and, not have to deal with it. I have a Scalar Works riser with a Acro with a Reptilia mount on there. And this was mainly just to keep this as light as possible. I was running this with a MAMS before, and man, it gets really concussive when you start putting a compensator on something so short, but it does flatten it out really well. But surprisingly enough, putting the factory muzzle device back on here and using it, it still wasn't that bad at all. The recoil impulse was pretty good. I also have on here a Tommy built brace. Funny enough, like now that I mention it, these braces were meant for people that have a hard time shooting with one hand, that are disabled, and I love them. They help me a lot. Man, you're really making it hard for me to shoot and be able to do this stuff. Whoever's doing this. Also on here, I have a folding charging handle. I will put in the description who makes this. I forget who it is, but I know he's a smaller company, but these are actually really good for this because they come with a standard charging handle, and that's just a no-go. As I was saying before, though, between those four options, which one would I say is a really good way to go? If it was cost, I'd say CZ. If you didn't care about the money, I'd probably say the B&T. I like the B&T a lot. The issues I have with the B&T is they are certainly heavy. And I actually shot one of those and was doing content on it a while ago and decided to wait until I could get my hands on a Pro Model 223. But man, those things are heavy. And actually, I think I still have a clip from when I shot that before. But yeah, that's the big issue with those is the weight. You don't have that same issue with the CZ Bren 2s. The weight's definitely lower on these. One issue you do run into, at least for me, and I notice it, most people may not, there's absolutely no weight in the back of these. Like there's no weight you know, you've got a few other stock options, but there's not a lot of weight there. So all the weight is mainly in the middle and the front. They tend to feel a little bit nose heavy because of that, but that's something you kind of notice with, you know, one hand more so than two. Other than that, though, they do make, I know Haga makes aluminum lowers where you can use AR parts and AR triggers and AR grips, which is a good addition to this. I found that with this, I like to have a lighter profile, and the trigger on this is actually pretty nice for what it is. So, I mean, outside of that, I didn't really see too much reason to kind of change too much up on it. I wanted to give you guys a quick look at this. There's not a lot of content out on these. And if I remember correctly, CZ is going to stop importing them, but they just got a bunch of conversion parts for these because you can convert this to like 762 and 39 and stuff. Like I said, I was looking on the internet and saw a few videos, and it kind of re-sparked my interest of playing around with this, and I just happen to have one. So I figured I'd give you guys a quick look at the CZ Bren 2. If you guys happen to see one on your local gun store's wall, definitely take a look at one. For the price, I think these are around, I don't know, around 2,100. Maybe a little bit lower. They're pretty good bang for your buck. To be honest with you, if it's between this and like a Scar, I'd definitely pick this over a Scar. And I tend to be kind of bougie with my selections, but this is actually a really good setup, and there's a pretty good amount of cool aftermarket pieces for it. But yeah, aside from that, you know, the shooting experience of this, it's pretty smooth. It recoils well. I know that if you do plan on running these suppressed, I do know that there are some companies that will modify your gas regulator. So, I mean, just take a look at them. But aside of that, man, it's a really great setup, and it's definitely worth taking a look at if you guys happen to see one. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up for today. And I will see you guys next time on QRC.